The right to seek and receive information is a fundamental right for everyone under the international human rights law and standards. The right to information is also necessary for making decisions, engaging in democratic governance, as well as increasing openness, which aids the public in having access to information about how they're governed and that builds ground for fighting corruption. The Information Regulator, in partnership with the Centre for Human Rights, hosted the International Day for Universal Access to Information Symposium. This was on Friday. Let's chat a bit more about this now. I'm joined via Teams by Information Regulator Spokesperson Nomzamo, Zondi. Sister Nomzamo, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So I think let's start here. I mean, how does the public, know their information is being protected? This is a very crucial aspect because I am amongst those people who are still complaining about telemarketers calling me without my approval.
Good morning, Griselda, and good morning to your viewers. Please, if you could repeat that question. I think our technology is not in sync. I apologize for that.
All right, no worries. I was saying, how does the public know that their information is being protected? Because I think almost anyone you'd come across complains about telemarketers calling them without them giving any approval for that to happen.
Okay, firstly, let me start by indicating that I think the South African government made a very good decision by firstly establishing an information regulator. So we are the vanguard for information rights, as enshrined in the Constitution in Section 14 as well as Section 32. So we are the responsible institution for the right to privacy as it relates to the protection of personal information and the right of access to information, where we ensure that every person has a right to access any information held by both public and private bodies so that they are able to actually make informed decisions and improve their livelihood. Now, in reference to what you have just raised, it is particularly about the right to privacy. Yes, there has been a serious pandemic in our country, and I think globally, whereby everyone is very frustrated by the telemarketing, direct marketing, which they feel is quite intrusive. And indeed it is, because it is a clear violation of your privacy if you have not given consent to be contacted for any marketing purposes or for even reasons of any sales that are being done to you. So it is something that we are definitely looking into as the Information Regulator, because we have received a flood of complaints from the members of the public in this regard.
Yes, and for those who might not know, what is the difference between PAIA compared to POPIA, and the public bodies that encourage compliance? I think there's still a lot of lack of information with regard to exactly what these are.
All right, so POPIA is the Protection of Personal Information Act, which obviously is an act that is in place to ensure your right to privacy is protected, as I indicated, as it relates to the protection of your personal information. And POPIA actually establishes us as the information regulator so that we're able to help citizens or the members of the public to protect their privacy. And then on the other hand, PAIA is the promotion of access to information. Now, some people would think that, okay, so this institution has to firstly protect this personal information, but it also has to balance the right to access information. So basically, the Information Regulator is an information constitutional body to make sure that there is protection of personal information. But on the other hand, we need to also ensure that people are able to exercise their right to access information held by both public and private bodies. So the difference is basically the protection of your personal information on one hand, and on the other hand, promoting the right of access to information.
Yeah. And what concerns have been raised, by the public sector regarding record keeping, and what impact does that have on reporting?
So you'd remember, Griselda, that before 1994, we were in an undemocratic state whereby there was a huge culture of secrecy, and there was also a huge culture in terms of unresponsiveness by public bodies, even the private bodies as well. But in this instance, we as the Promotion of Access to Information Act was promulgated, or it was brought into force, we wanted to ensure that everyone has equal right to information, to access information, so that they can exercise this right and also protect and exercise other rights. Now, the challenge that we have noted through our compliance assessments is that public bodies particularly have a very low compliance with PAIA, which one of the areas that we are concerned with is records management. Now, if there is poor records management in public institutions, can you imagine, Griselda, if you want to then exercise your right to access information, that it would be impeded, because then there is poor records management, which means that the department is unlikely to be able to access that information or obtain that information so that you can receive it. So one of our concerns that we're around records management, which can be a very huge barrier and also infringe on your right to actually access information, which is one of the reasons why when we held the symposium on Friday, we even brought in the likes of your National Archives as well as the Auditor General of South Africa, because we wanted to also find a way of how do we collaborate to assist public bodies to amplify their records management or record keeping efforts, so that they ensure that there is respect and protection of your right to access public records.
And how does IR respond then to all of this?
So in terms of our day-to-day work and in terms of our mandate, we have a mandate to actually conduct assessments, compliance assessments on public bodies, because we need to make sure that there are mechanisms and methods put in place by public institutions so that they are able to ensure that the members of the public or society is able to exercise their right and access records. So when we do assessments on public and private bodies, we are able to then institute and enforce compliance so that it doesn't impede on your right to access that information. So over and above that, we do receive complaints, Griselda, from the members of the public or organized civil society, who then indicate that a certain department was unable to share information with us or allow us to access records, or denied us access to records, and therefore we are unable to then either protect or exercise another right. So the Information Regulator, over and above conducting assessments, we also then investigate complaints that we receive, and obviously after having investigated, we then would instruct a public body to make sure that those records are available to the requester. So we are responding in the sense that we are conducting assessments, and we're also then investigating complaints that we receive.
Right. Where does the public complain if their rights are being violated? And the bodies that you speak of, I mean, do they have the teeth to prosecute?
Like you indicated earlier that there's still much education that needs to be done, you're absolutely correct. We have actually noticed that members of the public will opt to go to court and use legal processes, which can be very expensive as well, or require some financial muscle. We are encouraging members of the public to actually utilize the services of the Information Regulator, which are absolutely free. And we do indicate that when after you've done an internal appeal with a public body, you can always come to the Information Regulator for us to then do the investigation, opposed to utilizing the legal routes that may be costly. So you do lodge a complaint with the Information Regulator by simply filling a very simple Form 5, which is obtainable on our website. However, you can even call us in case you do not have the ability to complete your form. We'll then assist you telephonically. Thereafter, we'll then process your complaint. So we do encourage members of the public to actually reach out to the Information Regulator and lodge their complaint. You are asking a very pertinent question about whether we have the teeth. The Information Regulator is empowered to enforce compliance, and so much that we also are able to actually institute fines or even jail time. But our current concern with PAIA particularly is that the enforcement powers are not as strong as they are in POPIA, which is why even in the symposium that we held on Friday, there were sentiments that there is a need for this legislation to be reviewed so that we are able to have much stronger enforcement and we are able to then deal with those that are in contravention of the law.
Thank you very much indeed. That was very insightful. Thank you very much indeed. The Information Regulator spokesperson, Nomzamo Zondi, just sharing some information with us there. Thank you very much indeed for shedding light on those crucial aspects.